Welcome to episode 87 of the Whatnauts review show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. Now, this could be a movie, TV show, anime, manga, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, whatever we need to do, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by Kyle Springer.
Hello, hello.
Hi,
That's
Kyle.
me.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. I completely forgot I had a question to ask you this morning, like right away. You were going to be like, and I'm joined by Kyle Springer. And I was going to be like, Melissa, let me ask you this. And
Where were you the night of the murder?
Where were you the night of the murder? Melissa's even your real name.
It's Marlissa. I've been lying the whole time.
No, I completely forgot what I was gonna ask, and now I'm in a panic to be like, do something. That song and dance. Hey.
You start panic tap dancing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I'm having a fine week. My memory's in perfect condition. Almost perfect condition, because I went to another trivia night last night and I won it. I have won both trivia nights I've been to this week.
Nice.
One a bar trivia and one like a church basement fundraiser trivia.
Okay.
But there was one
Sounds
fact
good.
that they asked, and I knew it, and I could not think of it. And we had a mulligan sticker, so we got the point anyway, but I was just like personally upset with myself that I forgot that the name of the tiger that attacked Siegfried and Roy was named Manticore. Because I was asked this, and I'm like, I've got this. Way back in my head, I know the name of that tiger, and I could not summon it in time. So I passed this on to you in case you ever need it. Your back's against a wall. Somebody demands of you, what was the name of that tiger? His name is Manticore.
Manticore, don't hurt me. Oh, God. That's fun. Melissa, we are starting our kind of unofficial holiday coverage.
Yeah.
We decided to watch Gremlins 1 and 2.
And Gremlins 2, the new batch.
Yes. Yeah. What's your history with this film?
These are some of my very favorite films. I would rent these from Blockbuster all the time as a kid. I bought them on Blu-ray as an adult. I like Gremlins 2 a little bit more than Gremlins 1, and that's one I've returned to more often. I think because Gremlins 1 is a Christmas movie, I don't put it in my regular rotation, and there's so many other Christmas movies to watch at Christmas. Like, I miss it some years. It's like, well, I got to Scrooged, I didn't get to this. But I have caught it like a couple minutes at a time on like ABC Family Freeform over the last couple years. So
gotcha.
I knew it well, but had not seen it in a couple years, and it was really nice to go back and watch the entirety of both of them back to back. I don't think I'd ever really double featured them before.
Okay. Gotcha. So I've never seen these ones.
What the heck did you think?
I have a vague memory. I think it was about Gremlins. That one time when I was visiting my cousins out in Montana, this was like, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. They had Gremlins on VHS, and I think I remember seeing it and thinking it was a horror film. And like being like, these people are supposed to be scared of these things, therefore I should be scared of these things. So I just like never watched it because I'm also not a big horror fan. And so it was like, well, I guess that's one that I'm never gonna watch. But here we are.
So you as like a 10 or 11-year-old was like, I'll never get to that level. I will never be brave enough for Gremlins.
Yeah.
Not at any point in my adult life.
Exactly. That's not gonna be me. But no, this was a lot different than I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say I like either of these films.
They might be an acquired taste, yeah.
But I think I had fun watching them, and I'm kind of amazed at the satire of the whole thing, because these are absolutely satirical films, especially the first one, since it's a Christmas story. But the second one really drives it home with just like, you're inside this big corporate building that's also kind of a mall.
Yes.
And it's like, it's all about like buying things and capitalism and stuff. And here's these gremlins, which are like the opposite of that. It's like, let's just ruin everything capitalist here. It's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I had fun.
I'm glad you had fun. I've always really loved them, and sitting down and watching them again, I'm like, yes, there is truly a big part of my heart that is labeled very clearly Gremlins.
That's funny. Well, let's see. Let's do a synopsis. Start talking about our general thoughts and all of that stuff. Then we'll do what we always do housekeeping, and then get into spoilers.
So, Gremlins the first was directed by Joe Dante, came out in 1984, and it's the tale of this young man, like kind of like college-age man, just, living at home with his parents, working at a bank, dreams of getting out of the small town, being an artist, and his dad is a traveling salesman and brings him back this mysterious creature that he bought at a shop in Chinatown. And it's this cute, like, little Furby type of guy named a Mogwai. And his dad's like, now, son, there are rules that you have to follow when I give you this mysterious creature that the old man told me. Never feed them after midnight. Never get them wet. And do not expose them to bright light, especially sunlight, because it will kill them. And over the course of the movie, all of these things happen. And we learn that when you feed a gremlin after midnight, it can go into a cocoon state. When you feed a mogwai after midnight, it can go into a cocoon stage and come out as a gremlin. It goes from looking like a cute little Furby to this like green, scaly, mischievous goblin thing. I remember what
I was going to ask you.
What?
Who would win in a fight? A mogwai, Baby Yoda, or a Furby?
Now, are you talking about like which one is the best, or like an actual fight?
Like an actual fight.
Okay. Furby, who knows what powers they contain?
I just remember all the urban legends of like, oh, the FBI is spying on you through your Furby. Yeah.
Because they listen to what you say and they can like repeat it back to you, which I think is the limit of their powers. But like metaphorically speaking, big dead eyes. Who knows? Who knows what's back there? Mogwai. Gremlin is Gizmo, which is the name of this particular Mogwai. Very cute, very capable. I don't know if he's really holding his own super well. Baby Yoda has the Force. Like, you really can't argue with that. So I'm afraid it would have to be Baby Yoda. Like, nobody else can... Like, I doubt that a Furby can, like, make something levitate in the air.
Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I think I would have to go with... Well... I would say Baby Yoda.
Yeah. Clear winner.
Yeah. There we go. Sorry for the tangent there. You mentioned Furby, and I was like, light bulb, there it is.
So when a Mogwai, it eats after midnight, it turns into a gremlin. If you get either form of it wet, it sprouts more of them. they like these little like, ew, like it grows like boils out of its back, and if it's a mogwai, then it pops off and it makes like other cute little mogwai, and if it's a gremlin, it makes like, there's these boils and they like burst out of them like, ah! And then there's like more little baby gremlins, and then you kill them with light. So these creatures get loose, run all over Billy's small town on Christmas Eve, and they have to destroy them. And then in Gremlins 2, also directed by Joe Dante, came out in 1990. Billy and his girlfriend, fiance Kate, are living in New York City. They work at this giant super building. It's like stories taller than the Empire State Building. It is like a super high-tech, completely automated office building. It's got like lab space and TV, television studio producing space and a mall, and everything is inside this one mega building. And all the gremlins get loose there. And it's just like, they go outside of it, but it's almost this kind of neat bottle movie where it's all this chaos happening inside of this one building that contains everything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one, because it definitely... So the first film, to me, has a more classic film feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it feels like a Christmas story. Like that movie.
Yes.
It feels like those movies from the 60s and 70s where it's about a nice family. And, the movie is hoping to teach you some good family values. And there's a moral. And then the second movie is very definitely an 80s movie. Right? It has the like weird futuristic but like not style
to
it. There's lots of like silver, and it's very corporate, and it's just it looks strange, but like a good strange. It's like, oh, this is fun. I love the second one more than the first one because of that setting, because of that giant, weird, like 80s conglomerate, like high-end slick business building that they're in that does have everything in it. Like they go to a science lab, they go to all these people's offices, they go to like a TV recording studio, and they go to like a TCBY that's also in this mall. Yeah. So you mentioned you like the second one a little bit more. I think I have to agree.
Joe Dante, the director himself, also agrees. I read that on IMDb. He's like, I like the second one a little more.
I'm not gonna lie. I had a thought run through my head on the first one, which was just, what were they smoking? Who said yes to making this film? That's what I want to know. Like, who gave the final say, like, yes, we are making this film. This is a film that needs to be made.
And what's wild... The first movie was written by Chris Columbus, who went on to make Home Alone and Home Alone 2 and The Goonies.
Harry Potter, the first one.
Yeah, this is Harry Potter, the second one. He produced the Night at the Museum films. Like, he's made a lot of, like, maybe a little offbeat, but, like, good, solid, warm family entertainment. And his original script for this movie was like, the Gremlins chop Billy's mom's head off and they kill Mr. Futterman. And all of this stuff happens. And they're like, okay, walk it back a little bit. Now you've got it. Joe Dante, you've got Steven Spielberg, Kathleen Kennedy, Frank Marshall, the whole Amblin team. They all join hands and they're like, this is the movie we will make.
Yeah.
We're going to make one of the movies that helps encourage that, like, it's this, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and I think maybe there's another one that's thrown in there as, like, the Red Dawn. Like, these are the movies that, like, made the MPAA say, we need something between PG and R. Like, if it wasn't for Gremlins, we might not have gotten PG-13. That is its mark on history. It's like... way too scary for a kid's movie, but not quite an adult movie yet. Perfect for me as child. I watched this
Yeah.
when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I adored these. Perfect for me.
There you go. There you go. I don't think I have really anything else to add to the like plot synopsis stuff. So let's get into housekeeping.
Yeah.
First of all, you might have noticed that Melissa's camera is getting bigger and smaller if you're watching the video version.
It's doing it again?
It's doing it again. I don't know why.
New
Nope,
computer.
there she goes.
New setup.
Yeah, so we're gonna figure that out in the coming weeks. But if you can, ignore that for now. If you guys did not know, we have multiple podcasts. You guys can find all of those on our website, thewhatnauts.com.
Mm-hmm.
You guys can also find us on your podcasting platform of choice. Just type in the Whatnauts and all of our shows will pop up right there for you. If you like what we do, patreon.com/thewhatnauts is where you can find us and support us for as little as $1 a month. And normally, you guys can get access to the live streams of this show. Today, we're having multiple technical difficulties. YouTube was not cooperating with us, so no live stream of this one. But normally, you can catch the live streams of this on YouTube if you pay us $1 a month. We also have a bunch of exclusive content that you guys can find, not just from the review show, but from the Captain's Log as well, and some of our other shows down the road as well. We would like to give a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, but especially to those at our $5 tier. So thank you, Sam, and thank you, Christine,
Thank you
for helping us out and keeping the mics on. But I think that's it. For housekeeping.
Sufficiently kept.
Let's see if the spoiler alert thing is working today. Oh, hey, it worked.
Oh, good.
There you go. I should probably do the social media stuff too, see if that works. Hey, there you go. My Stream Deck thing is not working with OBS right now because I have a test build because I'm on a Mac, and OBS does not work on a Mac right now because they updated to Catalina and it broke everything. Computer problems. There's a gremlin inside my computer.
Yeah, like that's
screwing everything up.
It's very apt actually that we are having technical difficulties because both of these movies are about inventions going wrong. It's not really the major theme, but it's like this running subplot in both of them that like, I'm a genius. Look what I've made. What a great thing. And then like the people who actually have to use the item are like, okay, all right, I have to touch this very carefully or it will break in my hands.
Yeah, or just like, oh, if it's not American made, they put these little monsters in there and it screws everything up.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the history of the concept of a gremlin overall prior to these films?
I'm not.
A gremlin, I learned that this term was originally coined by Roald Dahl.
Oh.
And it was used to, it was kind of like like a fun, winky piece of folklore during like the World Wars, that like when something with like, you know, you're in your fighter plane and everything should be going right, but something's not working, like, oh, there's a little gremlin in there. And in some interpretations, it's like, oh, the Germans put the gremlin in there, the Japanese put the gremlin in there, whatever,
I was gonna say, it sounds an awful lot like Kremlin. I don't know what that means.
I don't know. No, I didn't read about the etymology of the term gremlin, but the term mogwai is, I think, Chinese for like monster or demon or devil.
It's Cantonese for
Thank you.
devil. I see that right here on Wikipedia.
Yeah, so that's the concept of a gremlin. This had already existed in kind of the world's, or at least American culture. Like this was a term people had heard of. And then Chris Columbus wrote the story about, okay, What is a gremlin and what could it do to just like an everyday person's life?
Yeah. It's really funny because as I was thinking about this, like most Christmas movies and stuff are about like family and giving gifts and just like the overall niceties of the holiday time, right? And like, oh, you should love your neighbor, even though he's a drunk and slightly racist. You know, like you should just be nice to him this one time, you know. And then at the same time, Christmas has kind of transformed, especially in a more modern day, where it is a very capitalist focused holiday. Buy these gifts, sales, buy all of the stuff, buy yourself something. And this is kind of the opposite of that, where like, here's this one gift that's not really a gift. He kind of stole it / bought
the
it.
old man did not want to sell it to him, and it's just the old man's grandson who's like, listen, dude, like, Grandpa's this crazy old man, you know, he never sells anything in this place. Take the mogwai. I will take your money from you.
Yeah, you obviously have money. I want it.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's this thing of like, he had to have the mogwai, right? The kid was like, I have to have that money. And then they get this thing, and it starts ruining everything. It starts destroying things. It starts creating chaos. And once there's multiple of these gremlins, like, they all just want to go to the movies and consume TV and content. It is this like
Gremlins,
this
the original
hyper
content consumers.
Right? Yeah, they just want to like
look into their eyes. Are not you also a gremlin?
Are you not entertained? But like it's this idea of just wanting to constantly consume and have new things and do that stuff, and it's ruining them. And so it's this like anti-capitalist film propaganda. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
I don't know if it's quite all that, because we see that Gizmo also like loves TV. He loves movies, and I think there's like, he stays good the whole time. Like, he uses movies to his advantage. He sees Rambo on TV once, and he's like, when he's scared, like when it's him versus all these other gremlins, he's like, yes, he's like, I have a role model. I can step up. I have inspiration to do what I need to do because I saw this hero on TV.
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about these movies is that it is satirical, but it has enough of this sense of wonder and delight about it that it never feels cynical. Like, Billy's dad, he's trying to sell all of these crackpot inventions that he's made. He's like trying to get in on, it seems like, the as seen on TV, solve it all gadget kind of market. But you can tell, like, he's not doing it for the money. He's doing it because he loves to invent. He is delighted by just making something. And, like, he takes great pride in his salesmanship. Like, sitting down and giving somebody, like, the whole spiel, like, he loves to do. He enjoys it. Not necessarily what it brings to him, but just the actual act of it in and of itself. He seems to really like. And then in the second movie, we have Daniel Clamp, who is like this major like real estate and media and all kinds of business, this mogul of everything you could be a mogul of.
Jeff Bezos.
But he has this
what he'd be like.
Delight in his eyes. Like, he has this sort of childish delight and wonder about everything. Like, he's a little bit more like, oh, I could make a lot of money off of this. But he's also delighted by the thing itself in a way that is really sincere and really genuine. Like, he just lights up at these really simple delights. And he'll say, like, you know, like, he sees Gizmo and he's like, you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing dolls, little dolls with suction cups that all of Americans can stick on their car windows. I'm seeing a balloon in the Macy's parade. And, like, he's coming up with all of these products, but you can
Spaceballs,
tell there's
the lunchbox.
exactly. But you can tell there's a genuine enjoyment of, oh, I am delighted to have this new thing in my life. And like he has this giant automated building not necessarily as an act of power. Like there is some power in it, and he has that second in command that really is like the shrewd businessman that's like, I am in charge of everything around here. And Daniel Clamp's just like, oh, isn't this stuff cool? Look at like everything is so shiny to him. He's just like, oh, shiny, more than he's like, riches. And I like that nuance to him.
It's a pretty real character type because a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but most, some, I don't know. The like entrepreneurial. I can't say that word.
Yeah,
entrepreneurial. Is that a word? Entrepreneurial. There we go.
Yes.
I've been having trouble with words, but that kind of personality type. Yeah, they often do have just this vision of like I can see this whole setting and it's filled with lunch boxes and collectible toys and all of this stuff, and then they just go make it, and they don't understand what's involved in making it, and that's it, and that's where you see in the second film, like him just like he makes this masterpiece of what this new compound is, what this new Chinatown building is supposed to look like, and it looks fantastic. And they're like, oh, you need to add in these trees and all of that stuff. And he's just like, I just spent a whole week making this. The trees aren't going to help, like all of that stuff. And then he finally adds them in, and then someone else is like, yeah, take those out. It's like, you can't just take those out. Like, you have to restart the entire drawing. Like, you can't do that. And he's just like, yeah, just take them out.
Another character who I really like, who I think is great nuance to them, is Marla, who I've always loved. Like, as like a 7-year-old, I'm like, I love these business people. And me as a small child was really enamored with business for whatever reason.
That's what do you want to be when you grow up, Melissa? Business.
Legitimately, yes. Like, I think if you asked me when I was like 8 years old what I wanted to be when I grew up, it was, I didn't have her as the example for this, but I wanted to be Pepper Potts. These were my goals. I love Marla because she's got this kind of like femme fatale, not in like a James Bond way, but in like a film noir kind of way. Yep. Like this kind of femme fatale aspect to her. Like she's very slinky and sultry, and she's always smoking the cigarette, and she's this high-powered businesswoman. But there's also this franticness to her. Like it's not like a slow, sexy cigarette smoke. It's like she's constantly chain smoking. Like she talks so fast. She's really jittery. Like she's such a, like she's this power woman who's also, you can tell, terrified that she doesn't have enough power and she won't have a way to get it. There's so much fear in her that is like not typically in a character of that type. And I like that how much of that was on display. Like she's really faking it till she's made it so far and is faking it till she makes it further and is nervous about faking it.
Yeah, she feels like she has imposter syndrome, where like she knows she's been faking it, and so she's always on guard or like always on the lookout for how to make the next step, which is kind of why she like immediately wants I don't remember his name, but the big the crane dude,
Daniel Clamp.
Yes, that one. When he goes to the main character and is like, you got what it takes. He's like, I like you, and then all of a sudden, like, she's turning her attention to him, but like, hey, you want to go on a date with me? Like, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you just hated me like 2 seconds ago. Like, and she has this mindset of like, if I date him, I can further my career, or somehow I can position myself to have more power or stuff like that. But she's so focused on that she doesn't see anything around her. Of like, he's engaged. Like, he already has someone who is like happily his spouse.
Yes.
And she just doesn't know.
Yeah, I also like that when she's trying to like make the moves on him, it's like she is continually like pushing the point and like arguing it, like, well, really, you should go out to dinner with me. It's just business, honey. It's just like, she's talking so fast and like she's like trying to prove her own plan to herself. And then when Kate confronts her about, like, you took Billy out the other night, she is completely honest. Like, okay, I'm just going to tell you up front, I really did not know, like, he had a fiance at home. I didn't get to first base. I kind of tried, but really it was just for business goals. And if I'd known, I wouldn't have tried it. Like, she's just like, okay, I'm coming clean. I really was not trying to steal your man. I just have big business goals.
Yeah. Big business.
Yeah, business.
So let's talk about Mr. Wing. He's one of the first characters that we meet. He is the I don't know if he's actually Chinese. I think they alluded to him being Chinese in the film, but I don't know if that's just a early 80s film, not really knowing. Yeah,
just kind of amalgamating an entire continent into one country. But I think he is supposed to be Chinese. And a trivia fact I learned on IMDb, because I went and learned a bunch of trivia about these two movies. The trivia hole is deep on these. One of the actors they were originally considering for Mr. Wing was Mako.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Samurai Jack and Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Aku.
And he's feed him after midnight.
He's also in Conan, the barbarian.
Oh, the barbarian.
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Conan, the barbarian.
You know, the barbarian. The business barbarian. Now I need to see that.
Oh, they just got to make UHF 2.
Right. No, I remember my dad watching one of those Conan films, and I like hear his voice, and I'm like, I know that voice.
Is that Uncle
Where do
Iroh?
I know that? It's Aku. It's Uncle Iroh. I know him. Yeah, so I thought he was an interesting character, Mr. Wing, because we don't see much of him, but we see him in the start of the first film and the start of the second film, but we see him also at the end of the first film, and that's basically all we see of him. But it's really strange because I felt like the character we saw at the end of the first film was a very different character than the one that we saw at the start. Which, like, the one that we see at the start of both of the films is maybe a little more stereotypical.
Yeah.
Right? It is like he is this ancient Chinese mystic with a long wispy beard and a like foggy eye, and it's like he's smoking a pipe, and he has this weird shop that's in this underground basement. Yeah. And it like he barely speaks. He just look, and he like, it's like, huh, this is really stereotypical. I'm oddly drawn to him. I like him.
Yeah, it's a great performance.
But when we see him at the end of the film, like, he's speaking in a more American accent, and he's like, you guys know what the holidays are all about. This isn't what the holidays are about. I'm here to tell you the moral of the story. And like, it was so weird to me. I was like, this is almost a completely different guy.
I kind of liked that he is such a stereotype, and then he shows up at the end and he's like, yes, I speak perfect English and I understand all of these American cultural things, and I was able to like find my way to your house, and you took that gremlin. I know you paid my grandson, but I told you couldn't buy him. I'm taking this mogwai back home with me. Say goodbye, Gizmo. Here we're going. Like, he's like, no, like, he's there to do business, and he's like really capable and forthright, and he's like, no, this is happening my way.
Yeah, and they don't do anything to be like, no, we bought him, you can't take him back, like, we've had him for a month now, he's ours. Like any movie about a dog or something like that, if this was a dog, that's exactly what they would do, right? There would be the relationship between the boy and his dog. His name's Billy, right?
Yeah, Billy.
It'd be Billy and his dog, and they would make this great relationship. And at the end, when the owner tries to take him back, he'd be like, but we had such a great adventure together.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just take him. And you'd be like, oh, all right, it's Christmas. Like, you can have him, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
And he's like, no, this is mine. And they're like, okay.
Well,
and that's it.
I guess there's nothing we can do. Billy's like, Dad. And Dad's like, do you have to? And Mr. Wing's like, yes. And they're like, well, we've tried everything. I had completely forgotten that that's how that movie ended. Like, I knew that Gremlins 2 started with Gizmo is back with Mr. Wing, but I'd forgotten like exactly how that happened. I forgot that Mr. Wing shows up and he's like, I have to take Gizmo back. And they're like, okay. There's a lot of stuff that I had forgotten about the first movie, or like never really realized, because like I've seen the second one so much. I've watched it recently, like in the last couple years, but like except for catching a little bit of it on TV, I haven't sat down with the first Gremlins in several years. First off, I knew Billy and Kate as these like adult business people, and they are charming. They're a great couple. They look great. You go back to the first movie, I'm like, that is a grade A hunk and babe right there. And they've got great chemistry. Like the romance, like I didn't realize, because this was something I wasn't exactly tracking, like they're a nice couple in the second movie. They're a great couple in the first movie.
Yep. Yeah, they also have a good the scene where he asks her out finally is a great scene.
And in the first movie, Billy and Kate, you think they're both like maybe around college age, and they just have jobs there in the small town where they grew up, you know. Maybe they have gone to college, maybe they haven't. Maybe they, you know, they're just sticking around town. They have dreams to get out there. They're in that kind of ambiguous transitory part of your early 20s. And I feel like they played that with Billy really well. Like, he seems like he is that age, and that he's still sometimes like, Mom, Dad, like he keeps asking for their help. And I didn't really think about that as like, you know, like a 7 or 8 year old, but like having gone through that period, I'm like, yeah, you are still like trying to be independent, but like really still relying on your parents when you're like 23. And I like that he's like, Mom, my mogwai turned into all of these weird cocoons. Mom, I don't know what to do.
What do I do? Yeah. I thought they had really great chemistry. I would have liked to see more of it, because it's at odds with itself. I think their chemistry was so good that I wanted more of it, but that's not what these movies are about.
No.
Really, like the whole plot thread of them about to get married, and then he ends up going on this pseudo date with his coworker, even though he doesn't want to. And her being like, is he cheating on me? Like, if we make it through this, you're in trouble, mister. Like, they just don't pick that back up.
They kind of do, because she confronts Marla about it, and Marla comes clean, and then she's like, Okay,
Okay,
I understand what was happening here. And I also like that Billy was never tempted, and now he also wasn't clueless. Like, he knows Marla's trying to take me out on a date. I don't want to go, but if I say yes, I can whisk her away and I can distract her from the fact that I have Gizmo hiding in my desk drawer. He's like, strategically, I have to agree to this date, and then once I'm there, I have to figure out a way to leave.
Yeah. But, like, I kind of would have liked to see them talk about that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, so I spoke to Marla.
Mm-hmm.
I know what happened, but what happened? How did that even come about?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would kind of like to see more of that stuff. But that's, again, like, that's not what this film is about. It's not what it's focusing on. It's not about their relationship per se.
Yeah, I would have liked more of it. And I saw that there was like a lot of stuff they considered for the second movie that didn't get in there. Like, there was going to be a scene at the very end where Billy's dad shows up because he's a major part of the first movie, but not in the second movie at all.
Right.
There was going to be a final scene where he shows up and he's like, hey, Billy came to town to show you I made this amazing new invention. And it's like a little wetsuit that Gizmo can wear where he will never get wet again. He will stay a Mogwai. We will never have this gremlin problem again. And like everything was in line, and they're like, the script is running too long. Like, we have everything in line to shoot this, but we will probably not be able to include it. The film's too long.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the back of their minds, they were like, what if we want to make a third?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want him not able to get wet.
I think I've heard talk like every couple years, like it'll come up like, might make Gremlins 3. And I think it is a perennial concept. I think you could bring the Gremlins back at any time and they still really work.
Yeah, like I think, all right, so I think they're really fucking annoying.
I think that's kind of the point of them.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're on to something. Because again, like I asked, who would win at a fight? Mogwai, Baby Yoda, or a Furby? They all look exactly the same. They're all the exact same things. And the Furbies, that was a huge craze. Mm-hmm. Like, it was like after the Beanie Babies started dying off, like, what was the next big thing? And it was like Furbies.
I think so, yeah.
Lasted like maybe a year. Something, I don't remember exactly.
And then they came back a couple years ago, like new Furbies with Bluetooth technology.
Yeah, now we really can spy on you secretly. But now we have Baby Yoda, and it's the exact same thing. It's just this small, cute thing that just makes these like cooing noises, and it's just, oh my god, I want one. And so, like, they're on to something like that, but then they make these ones just so annoying and so ugly and so over the top that it's just like, I don't want any more of this than there has to be.
This is what I like. What I find interesting about the Gremlins is that they start off and they're just kind of like, in the first movie, they start off and they're just like mischievous little goblins. And then they get like kind of bigger and broader and like more self-referential, and the things they're doing become more outlandish. Like, it's like, okay, the Gremlins are like trying to destroy your house and like eat your mom and whatever, like things you would expect from a little scamp of a movie monster like that. And it just gets like weirder, where they're like, well, they're all drinking at the bar and they're all playing poker with each other. Why do they know how to play poker? Why is there one wearing a trench coat trying to flash Kate? Like, it just becomes like this weird fun house mirror of like disastrous humans. And then like, why are they all sitting in the movie
That's what I
theater?
mean of like, it's this weird like fun house thing of a capitalistic society. These people just want to consume stuff. They are rabid. They are debaucherous. They are like, and that's kind of how we get in a capitalist society, we need to have the latest thing. We need to buy a pizza because we fucking love pizza, right? We need to go.
What's wrong with
drink
this world
at a
where we
bar?
love
Like,
pizza and buy the pizza? I don't see a problem with that one.
Yeah, but it's so much where it's like, I don't even need to call to order a pizza. I don't need to talk to anyone. I can just hit a button on my phone and it happens, right? Like I can get things instantly. I can get things now. I can get 5 of the things. I can get 5 of the things right now. I can do this and that and this, and then, like, it's just this debaucherous funhouse
I'm just
mirror.
picturing you like J. Jonah Jameson picking up a phone and screaming into it, 5 of the things right now.
I want 5 of the pizzas right now, damn it.
5 pictures of Spider-Man.
I want exactly 5 pictures of Spider-Man. So help me.
The Gremlins have Gizmo, he is well behaved. Maybe he likes candy and TV, like, a little bit too much, and Billy kind of has to parent him, like, okay, Gizmo, like, time to turn it off, go to sleep, whatever. But he's like, he understands moderation of things, and the Gremlins do not. They are no conscience, no filter. They are all id. They are all like raw, primal energy of anything I want to do, I am doing right now as big as I possibly can. But I like what it does within the narrative of the film, where, yeah, they're these, debaucherous little monsters, but, like, especially when you get into the second movie, it's just all of these weird tableaus where it's like, are they literally doing this? Like, in the second movie where they all, like, do that old, like, Busby Berkeley, like, dance number, and they all flash up the cards, and all the cards make the face of the lady gremlin, like...
Yeah.
They organized that? They planned this? Why did all the Gremlins want to do this musical number? Like, what it turns into, how they completely take over the narrative of the film to where it's like, okay, there's 2 versions of the scene in the second movie. How did you watch this? Because I watched it on a Blu-ray I bought.
I just rented it online.
Okay. Did you get the version of the scene where the film breaks down and they're in a movie theater, or the version of the scene where the film breaks down and it's like a home VHS copy?
In the movie theater. I got Hulk Hogan.
Yes. That's what's on my Blu-ray too. So there's a part of the movie where, like, it's just a normal scene between, like, Billy and this Christopher Lee mad scientist that is also in the film, because Gremlins 2 has everything. And, like, the film kind of, like, cracks and burns, then these gremlins pop up. Like, it's supposed to be like, oh, you're in the movie theater, and they snuck into the projection booth, and they're tearing apart the film, and they're making shadow puppets or whatever. And then it cuts to the scene where it's, like, a woman and her child walking out of a movie theater and yelling at I was going to say maitre d' concierge, some sort of a theater employee, and they're like, you have to fix the movie, put the movie back. And then that guy goes into the movie theater where Hulk Hogan is, and Hulk Hogan just yells at the Gremlins, and that fixes
he's like, hey,
it and
stop
sets
this.
it back up. And it's like, okay, now on with the movie. Like, the Gremlins truly derail the entire concept of what a narrative of a film should be. We're just going into this weird cartoonish gremlin tableau land before we get back to the traditional, like, here are character arcs and act structure and what a scene is supposed to accomplish.
Yeah,
like, they break apart
this,
what
like,
film
fourth
is.
Wall meta thing. But the woman and her child also kind of storm out of the theater, not only because the Gremlins have, like, stopped the film, but because they put on this, like, old, slightly pornographic film on there that, like, you're very obviously, like, not seeing the full frame.
It's like a documentary
naked
of, like,
volleyball documentary.
It's like a documentary of life at a nudist camp that is, like, Right on that line between educational and pornographic.
Pornographic, yeah.
Yeah.
Which you don't see a thing,
Oh,
but,
no.
but it's a thing. Like, you're not saying the full thing, but it like she storms out like, you can't show this, you can't do this, with her child there.
And the theater guy has to ask Hulk Hogan to yell at the gremlins, and this solves the problem.
Yeah, like
This is the one thing gremlins are scared of is Hulk Hogan.
I just. Like
anyway.
I said at the start, I can't say I like these films, but God, it's so wild and it's so crazy that even something like that scene or that whole thing that happened there, it's like that's actually kind of something special. Like that, like that's actually kind of cool. But it's so dumb. It's so dumb. Like, please, Mr. Hulk Hogan, can you save this film? Can you save Christmas?
Yeah, I this is what I like. Okay, the first movie is kind of a family, like, kind of scary, kind of funny action adventure movie with just this kind of weird, gruesome kind of twist on it. It is a more or less normal movie that is eccentric. And the second movie, full on silly.
Yeah, it is a full on comedy. It's incredibly self-referential.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole bunch of visual puns and stuff like that. Like when the gremlin that gets the wings flies out of the building and leaves a hole in the building. The hole is the bat symbol from Batman, because this is a WB owned movie, and it's just like come on, you guys.
Can I go through some facts for you?
Okay.
So there was, on the original VHS home video release of this film, that theater sequence, instead of the film breaking apart and burning the way film reels do, it turns into this glitchy, staticky videotape thing, and the gremlins are still there doing shadow puppets, but they're all static or whatever, and then it breaks, almost like the tape is broken and now you're channel surfing through the TV, and it cuts to a news broadcast. It cuts to a John Wayne movie, and now John Wayne is like, now you gremlins better get out of here. And it's they filmed new stuff with the gremlins. All the gremlin puppets are dressed as cowboys and shooting, and they are cutting it with a real John Wayne movie, and then voiceover impersonations of John Wayne from an actor that John Wayne's son recommended. Whenever somebody needs to replicate my dad's voice, this is my go-to. This is the guy I think sounds the most like my dad. Please use him.
That's funny.
So John Wayne's son signed off on this bit with John Wayne fighting the gremlins through cutting new Gremlins footage and old John Wayne footage, and then eventually it gets back to the movie. That's the replacement for this Hulk Hogan scene. Gremlins 2 also features, within one of the TV studios in Clamp Towers, there's a film review show hosted by real movie critic Leonard Maltin, who was friends with the director Joe Dante.
Yeah.
And he had written a poor review of the first Gremlins, and he had apologized to Joe Dante, Joe, we're friends. I really appreciate you and all you do. I actually like this one.
Agreed with the guy. He was like, this movie is awful, it's so bad, it there's no structure, it's chaos. And I was like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And then they're behind him choking him and stuff, and I was like, that's really funny.
Yeah, so kind of as this joke between friends, Joe Dante wrote Leonard Maltin into the movie saying his review of the first movie, and then the gremlins attack him for it. Both parties had such a good sense of humor about it, and Leonard's like, okay, I'll go do that for you. I think that's fair. I'm happy to be included in this movie from you, the director Joe Dante, my friend.
I just happened to see this on Wikipedia. Apparently, Gremlins was released in North American theaters June 8th, 1984, the same day as Ghostbusters.
I am full of Gremlins trivia now. Ghostbusters outperformed Gremlins. Gremlins wasn't a disaster or anything. Ghostbusters was just that big. Except Ghostbusters was really filmed in New York, where it is set, and apparently, like, the citizens of New York were so annoyed by, like, all the traffic closures and all of the, like, obstacles that the Ghostbusters shooting had set up, that Gremlins performed way better in New York City than Ghostbusters actually did, because I guess the citizens were like, oh, I'm already tired of that Ghostbusters thing. That messed up my whole commute. I'm gonna go see Gremlins.
Yeah.
Gremlins 2 has these, Warner Brothers animated bits at the very beginning, at the very end. Like, it starts with, like, the Warner Brothers Shield logo, and, like, out comes Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, and then, like, if you stay through the end credits, like, Daffy Duck keeps popping up and makes, like, little comments over the end credits, and then at the end, Porky's supposed to come out and do "That's all, folks," and, like, Daffy shoves him out of the way, like, "You've been doing this for 50 years, I want to do it.
It's my turn now."
And all of that was because this movie came out the 50th anniversary of kind of the premiere of Looney Tunes. And they got legendary animator Chuck Jones out of retirement to animate these Looney Tune bits for this movie.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so much cool behind the scenes stuff. In the first movie, okay, so the town of Kingston Falls, that is the same set as Hill Valley from Back to the Future. When Billy rides past
familiar.
When Billy rides past a movie theater, the movies on the marquee are A Boy's Life and Watch the Skies, which were the original working titles for E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Okay.
And then, so Billy takes one of the, little sprout out, like a Gizmo gets wet and he pops off all of these other, mogwais. He takes one of those to, like, his old high school science teacher, like, science, can you please, like, take a look at this thing? I don't know how to learn anything. Like, tell me if there's anything you can figure out. And we see that science teacher showing a film, like an old educational film strip about the heart to his class. That little film strip, that was directed by Frank Capra, the director of It's a Wonderful Life, clips of which appear in this movie and in both Home Alone movies because Chris Columbus loves that movie. Which is boggling to me just to know that Frank Capra directed an educational film strip about the human heart.
That's so funny. One of the things I noticed, this is just a stupid thing, is in that scene, I believe it's the first one, because it's his mom, when she's in the kitchen making the food, watching It's a Wonderful Life. Did you notice how much onions there are? She's cutting so much onions. Like, this is more than any family would ever need.
There's 3 of them.
But there's just like this massive pile, and she's just like barely chopping these things as she's watching them. Like, she's been doing this all day, it looks like.
Mountains of
she's
onions.
like, this movie is just so sad.
Yeah, there's so many great bits of just weird, like, not talked about action happening. Like, in the second movie, this is something, like, I've seen the second movie so many times, this is something that never totally hit me. In the science lab, one of those twin scientists has a syringe full of electricity, injects the electricity into a piece of cheese, feeds the piece of cheese to a rat, and then holds a light bulb against the rat, and then the light bulb lights up.
Yep.
Like, it's just a weird chain of events.
Yeah, he says something too. He's like, no one will look at cheese the same ever again.
And, like, I remember him talking about it, but I never really paid attention to the fact that it's like, why are you injecting electricity into cheese and feeding it to a rat instead of just injecting the rat straight with the electricity? Like, the point is to make electric rats, not electric cheese. Why is there this middleman in here?
So weird.
I think my favorite joke of the entirety of the second movie, maybe the entirety of the franchise, is when somebody pulls the fire alarm at Clamp Towers, and instead of like this alarm bell ringing, you hear this voiceover, like they're playing a recording of this man over the building that just says, "Fire! The untamed element! Man's oldest mystery! Giver of warmth! Destroyer of forests! Yes, this building is on fire!"
I didn't notice that.
There's so much
their whole
tiny little stuff in these movies.
Their whole security thing is wild. Just that there's that scene at the start there, right, where the guy goes to take a smoke break, and the camera, like, their security thing, like, zooms in on him, and he has the intercom thing. He's like, "That's not a sanctioned break. You're fired. Get out of here." All of that stuff is wild. Yeah.
I want to talk about something. Man. There's something else I realized about these movies that I've never thought of before, and it's like the Mogwai's relationship with being a carrier of great destruction. Because Gizmo is aware, he knows, I can't get wet. It seems like he knows, not just like, oh, water will hurt me. Like, this somewhere back in his history, and this must have happened so that Mr. Wing knows about it too. Like, if I get wet, I make these monsters. So Gizmo was like afraid of that happening to him, of being the carrier of these monsters. And like, you know, he's like writhing and screaming when like water drips on him, and these little like puffballs of fur come out of his back and then grow into their own mogwais. And I'm like, this is the first time I think I've ever seen body horror for a non-human entity. Like, because we were really feeling it, that like, if this happened to a human, you know, this is very clearly classified under the body horror subgenre of horror, like The Fly or The Thing or whatever. And like, there is times when a scary thing happens to an animal in a movie, like in The Thing, you know, those alien worms get into the dog and then the dog morphs. But like, we're not really seeing and feeling it from the dog's perspective. We hear the dog whine, but we're not like really set up to empathize with the dog. With the Gremlins, we feel what Gizmo is feeling. Like, we are set up to feel that fear, that like concern, all that pain. Like, this is body horror for a non-human entity, and I don't think I've ever really encountered that, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think of it like that. Maybe they have secret plans for a prequel. Like, how did Gizmo figure out that he can't get wet?
Yeah, I don't want them to over-explain it and kind of midichlorians themselves, but I am very curious. There was
also the animated cartoon. I know that there was a Gremlins like cartoon. I don't know how much that goes into the lore or anything like that, but
oh, it says there's one in development. It hasn't come out yet.
Gotcha.
This was a news item from earlier this year. Gremlins is set to return to screens as an animated TV series. Coming from Warner Media. Warner's turned out some pretty good animated shows recently. Yeah, Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai. Yeah, being produced by Amblin Television, Warner Brothers Animation. The series will travel back to 1920 Shanghai and revisit Mr. Wing as a little boy. And he, his full name is Sam Wing. Nice to know. Sam will team with a teenage street thief named L to transport Gizmo, a young Mogwai Sam discovers, across the Chinese countryside. Apparently, there will be battles and colorful monsters and spirits from Chinese folklore. The journey is about returning Gizmo to his family and uncovering a legendary treasure. Interesting.
There you go.
I'd like to see that. I'm glad that Gremlins is in some way still alive, because I think it is something that is simple enough that you could work with it in any decade. Like, the concept of this will still work. And Warner has turned out within recent years some really great kind of self-aware, slightly meta, and like really funny cartoons like Scooby-Doo, A Mystery Incorporated, and the Looney Tunes show, if this is in the same vein as those, or even going back to like the 90s with Amblin Entertainment and like Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, like if this is done like that, that could be really fun.
There you go. I agree. Probably not for me, since I was not a fan of these films, but it's a little too much.
Yeah,
for me, but
I think they are, to me, they almost feel like the proto Deadpool, in that they are like, I have no filter. I am doing anything I want to do. I will break the fourth wall. I will break every wall. I will destroy the very concept of a film structure around me.
I see what you mean.
I think they could do well now.
I
like them. I got an
old
old school soft spot for some Gremlins.
I had one more thing I wanted to mention, but now I forget what that is as well. My memory has not been doing me any favors today. And that's the weird thing. I usually have a good memory, but then it's just like immediately once I'm on these podcasts, my memory goes to shit.
I have one more like little detail I want to talk about. Like there's a reference in this movie in Gremlins 2 which I've been watching my whole life, that like this is so dense with jokes. There's jokes I am not getting until like right now here in the year 2019, when I've seen this movie like 7 times throughout my life. And it's when they go to that Canadian themed steakhouse, which is covered. This is where Marla takes Billy on a date, and you can like hear the guy on the intercom go like, Gretzky party is 6, eh? Your table is ready. And like everything is like log cabin, and like there's stuffed moose heads all over the place, and the waiters are just
one
like
right
Mounties.
on their table that they have to like talk around.
The waiter's just like a Mountie, and he wheels up a giant chocolate moose, and he says, "May I cut you a slice of antler?" In the like right before the scene cuts, you can hear the song starting to play in the background. It is it's If I Could Read Your Mind by the Canadian singer-songwriter Gordon Lightfoot, who is another childhood favorite of mine. I love Gordon Lightfoot. I knew this song when I was a kid, and like I just never listened close enough. It's not like until 20 years later, more than 20 years later, I'm like, oh, Gordon Lightfoot's in this. They really put so much work into making the most Canadian restaurant possible.
That's funny. There you go. Well, this was not a horror film like I thought it was when I was a wee lad. But yeah, it was an interesting watch. It's one of those things that's like, I can see that they're on to something in the sense that they are making something that they can easily merchandise. Yeah. As well as like they can do anything they want with this. Basically, it's not like they're beholden to some kind of story thread. Oh, we need to get all 6 of the Infinity Stones. And it's just like they can do whatever if these things get out, it's chaos. Yep. That's all it is. And so, yeah, it's just like that doesn't necessarily mean you can keep doing it over and over again, but it's still like when you do, you're not beholden to, oh, well, we have to continue this one story or stuff like that. It's just like, more gremlins got out somewhere else. You know, they're onto something. Yeah, smart. I think that's about it. I think that's about all I have to say.
Do you have any recommendations based on Gremlins?
Oh man, based on this, just wild and crazy stuff. You know, I'm wondering how similar this stuff, or I guess if they took inspiration from this, but the Rabbids TV shows, I think they're more big in France. The closest thing we have it here in America is the Minions from Despicable Me.
Also French.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, just like the chaos, the gibberish that they do, like if you're wanting something else like that maybe not is as disgusting looking or something, right? Like if you're like, hey, I liked the Gremlins growing up. Now I have a young child. I don't necessarily want to show them this body horror stuff happening here. Yeah, something like the Minions.
I can't believe you're comparing the Gremlins to the Minions. This is a crime.
No, they're like this. It's the same type of thing. It's a Furby. It's Baby Yoda. Hey, you compared him to Deadpool.
I think it tracks closer. I'd say that these movies tone-wise, they remind me a lot of something we've covered on the show before. Another childhood favorite of mine, Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes. Actually, that is something that I thought of, especially at the start of the film, where it's like downtown in the shops, and he buys this strange gift from some strange person, and then things go wrong.
Yeah, it's, mysterious creature from outer space. Are there weird rules I have to play by? It's great puppet work, really great cast, interesting cameos. It's got that same kind of like odd sense of humor and just like weird little details through the whole thing. I love both of those movies. I think the Gremlins series and Little Shop of Horrors were very formulative to me as a kid. And if you want a Christmas movie like these, this is a movie I've pitched to you twice and you haven't picked it. It is Scrooged.
Okay.
The 1980s contemporary tale where Bill Murray is a cable TV exec playing the role of Scrooge and being visited by all these ghosts. It's also got like amazing practical effects, kind of some puppetry work, really cool special effects makeup on these ghosts. Similarly, just like packed with really great performances, big and small. It's got that big, crazy, 80s conglomerate tower look that I loved in Gremlins too. It also has John Glover, who played Daniel Clamp. He plays Bill Murray's rival TV exec. Gotcha. The guy who might take over his position in Scrooged. And he's got that same thing where he's he is a powerful, threatening businessman, but is really just this wide-eyed boy who's excited to work on a shiny, cool project. And he's being really smarmy, without intending to do so. They're really neat performances to watch. He is the guy for that. He's so good in both of these movies.
Good stuff.
And it's a really a truer, heartwarming, sincere Christmas family tale.
Okay. Cool. I think that's some good recommendations. Let's see. I guess one last little bit of housekeeping. Next week is going to be our last episode of the year.
Yes.
Episode 88. I'm going to do my pitches for that in just a bit here. But just be aware that we are taking the last 2 weeks of the year off. So be looking forward to our episode next week. We're also going to be doing a retrospective. It's what we do every year. It's an end of the year celebration where we can look back as the Whatnauts and just be like, hey, we made some neat stuff.
Sure did.
So be on the lookout for that as well. And I think to kind of tease some stuff, there might be some changes coming to the review show here in the new year that I think we're both really excited about.
We're
so
considering
there will be more details.
We We may shake
on
up the
that.
format just a little bit, try and tackle content a little bit differently.
Yeah. So we'll give more details on that in the retrospective, I'm sure. But be on the lookout for all of that stuff down the road. Melissa.
Yes.
Are you ready for my pitches?
Yes. What do you have?
I also have 3 holiday pitches, as is kind of tradition.
And I know you're not a big Christmas movie guy, so thank you for playing
really.
along.
I still like to do something kind of holiday related. I think that's nice, but yeah, not a big holiday movie fan. But then holiday comics, there's not much of them out there, or they're harder to find.
Yeah.
But that is what I have
Ooh.
this time. 3 holiday comics that we
Okay.
can pick from. The first one is called Klaus. It's written by Grant Morrison and art by Dan Mora. And the synopsis, according to the Boom Studios website, says, he's a myth. He's a legend. He's loved worldwide by children and adults alike. But does anyone truly know the origins of Santa? Set in a dark, fantastic past of myth and magic, Klaus tells the origin story of Santa Claus. It's the tale of one man and his wolf against a totalitarian state and the ancient evil that sustains it.
Okay.
This is going to be fantastic. Apparently he's pulling on more like Viking myth and
Interesting.
some of the lesser known Santa mythology out there.
Okay.
I don't know. So that's pitch number 1. That is Klaus. There you go. And that's only 1 volume. There's a couple of one-shots out there after that, but it's just that 1 volume. Pitch number 2. The Last Christmas.
Ugh.
And this is also a comic book by Jerry Duggan and Brian Posehn.
Oh, the team
sure
that
how
brought
to-
us Deadpool.
Exactly.
Ooh.
With art by Rick Remender. The synopsis, according to the Image Comics website, says the writers behind the hit series Deadpool present the sad, funny, and true story of Santa Claus after the apocalypse.
Oh.
After tragedy strikes the North Pole, Santa turns his back on humanity and gives up on Christmas. Even though the world has been completely overrun by naughty men, there's still one boy who believes in Santa. But could that be the biggest mistake of his life? Enjoy this modern action comedy Christmas classic in hardcover for the first time. Blah, 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 blah. We don't need to read all that. So, post-apocalyptic Santa.
I have a question for you. Is naughty men capitalized? Is that a proper noun?
No.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
But that would be really funny if it was. But that is also 1 volume as well. So that should be pretty funny. Pitch number 3. I'm pretty sure I've pitched this before. This is one of the ones that come up when you're like, what Christmas comics are out there? This is Batman Noel. And this is a retelling of Charles Dickens's classic 1843 novella, A Christmas Carol, featuring Batman as Scrooge.
Interesting.
So it's, let's see, and features characters from both Dickens and Batman's mythos.
Finally, we get the Penguin and Mr. Fezziwig, the team up I've been wanting.
Let's see. The first part of the plot, according to the Wikipedia page, during a winter in Gotham's City, a financially struggling man named Bob picks up a package full of money from a trash can. It is implied he is delivering the money as a bagman for the Joker. Almost immediately, Batman, referred to as Scrooge by the narrator, drops from above, attacks Bob, and demands to know where the Joker is.
You might have heard me just make a disappointed noise. While we were talking about it, I went to IMDb to look up when The Batman is coming out. It's 2021. I'm not going to get it this next year.
Yeah, no.
I'm just disappointed.
Batman Noel is written and drawn by Lee Bermejo. If you guys wanted to know who made that one. So there you go. Pitch number 1 is a comic book named Klaus by Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. It is the secret dark origin story of Santa. Pitch number 2 is The Last Christmas, a post-apocalyptic Christmas story in which only one young child still believes in Santa. Can he save Christmas? And then pitch number 3, Batman Noel, in which Batman is Scrooge.
These are 3 very good pitches. And I know we covered... I'm amazed that Grant Morrison has written 2 weird Christmas tales. Everything he writes is weird.
Oh, that's right. We did Happy.
That was how we ended last year.
That's right. I forgot that he made that show.
I feel like I'm almost still recovering from Happy. Happy was a lot. It's a lot. I'm intrigued by all of these, but I think I'm going to go with The Last Christmas because I don't like post-apocalyptic stories. It's a real turnoff for me, but putting Santa in a post-apocalyptic story has me intrigued. I want to see how this plays out, and I don't think I've read the Deadpool run from Brian Posehn and Jerry Duggan, but I know it is very good, and I've known some of Brian Posehn's other comedy works, and I think he's funny. And also, if I pick this one, this may prevent future post-apocalyptic things. You'll try and draw me out again. And I'm like, no, Kyle, remember once I did pick a post-apocalyptic story. So I've done my due.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. So next week, The Last Christmas on the last episode of the review show for 2019. Be on the lookout for that. We will be back with that next week. Melissa, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. Come talk to me about Gremlins and Gremlins 2. I own a Gremlins 2 movie poster. It sits above my movie shelf. So I might have to take a picture of that soon to prove my true Gremlins 2 love.
There you go. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. If you guys want to stay up to date with us here at the Whatnauts, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. Go like, share, subscribe, leave us a kind review. If you have some nice words to say, those can always help, and we don't have very many of them. That would be a great Christmas present to us. Go review our show, or just go rate us 5 stars or something.
Recommend us to a friend. I'm sure we have at least one episode for anybody you could know.
Yeah, exactly. We always have something for everyone. That being said, this has been episode 87 of the Whatnauts Review Show. We are going to get out of here. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for checking out our show. We hope you enjoyed it. If you guys are a fan of the Gremlins movies, let us know what favorite moment in those films, or what your favorite moment is. I cannot form sentences today, because there's a lot of visual puns and stuff like that. Just moment to moment. There's a lot of good parts. So let us know in the comments below which one was your favorite. In the meantime, go subscribe to our channel, which is right over here in this corner, and go watch one of our other videos right down there in that corner. Got a whole bunch of stuff for you to check out. Till next time, peace.